All right, it's I've been on a little bit of a hiatus here, and we've been sent a case here. Looks like our patient is missing a tooth in number 7, also in the upper left, but looks like our plan is here for number 7. So as normal, I always ask, my first question is what is our workflow, digital or analog? In this particular case, we're going to go with the analog workflow, and the reason we're going to go analog is we want to have natural teeth. So we have one natural tooth right here. And with only one natural tooth, our ability to integrate CEREC data goes down. That doesn't mean it can't be done, it just means it goes down. So in a case like that, we want to go ahead and use our bite plate for radiographic markers to allow us to have a classic guide made. In this particular case, it looks like the dentist was able to actually go ahead and integrate in the CEREC data, but as you take a look at it here, you'll see that what you'll get back from CCAT is saying that they cannot verify that that data is correct due to the amount of scatter. More specifically, for example, is if you take a look, like for example right in here, is that the end of the crown right there, or is where the CEREC data the end of the crown, is that the end of the crown? So these areas become a little bit harder for CCAT to determine, and they can't determine the accuracy of the fit of the surgical guide, and hence they can't give you accuracy of the surgical guide. So when we only have one natural tooth or very few natural teeth and significant amount of scatter due to metal restorations or full coverage metal restorations, we recommend using the analog workflow. So now let's take a look at the implant plan as it was provided to us. Generally speaking, a pretty nice plan. So what I'd like to do is begin with our CEREC design itself. And the first thing that I would take a look at here is gingival margin levels. Okay. Something like so. So, I would say is if I drew a straight line from here across, I would see that right here, my gingival margin on site number 7 is about a millimeter longer, or maybe a hair longer than it is on the contralateral tooth number 10, and certainly longer than the teeth number 8 and 9. So the reason that's important is that affects our apical placement of the implant. So we want to determine that. So again, in looking at this, the question here is right now, based on where I have the implant plan, I don't have 3 millimeters of space between the implant and the gingival margin, or 2 millimeters from the buccal, and they're worried about the cosmetics of the implant and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead, just to make my life easier, and go ahead and remove this sleeve here. Okay, so that way I can see everything cleaner, and we can see here that right here, if we take a closer look, based on this data right here, there would be a 3 millimeter mark for our implant. So our implant would need to be placed right there from a 3 millimeter perspective. So again, just with minor correction of where you put it, I would say right here would be about right. Okay, so you were pretty close there, just a little bit more apical placement. My next question would be, is this tooth been congenitally missing? Congenitally missing teeth, remember, don't have altered passive eruption. So that can often cause there to be excessive bone there. The parabolic structure wasn't naturally created from altered passive eruption. So, and then again, if we take into consideration that this gingival margin height may be incorrect, then in considering that, this may be a more ideal positioning there. The next thing I would look at is, I look at, and what I'm seeing here personally is, I got quite a bit of room here on the palate, and I'm really cutting it quite thin here on the buccal. So unless I was planning on doing a ridge split or some type of osteodensification or ridge expansion, I would probably adjust my implant position. Now in looking at this, we can already see from the plan as submitted, the plan is coming out through the buccal. So our intention here isn't necessarily to do a screw retained placement with this particular implant. So it looks like we're intending to do a custom abutment. So with that being said, I would try to maximize some of this palatal bone here and get more buccal space. So I would probably move my implant a hair to the lingual there, and then I would probably go ahead and tilt it a little bit like so. And then what this is going to do is that's going to give me a little bit more volume here in the buccal. So just to kind of compare, here's the plan I've adjusted, and here's the original plan, and you can especially see it right in through here where my cursor is, how thin that bone is there compared to how much more room we have here. If you combine this tweaking of the placement along with the use of the osseodensification of the vertebras, I think you will have more than enough room here to be able to place this implant. Also, in looking at it, we can see that we have plenty of space between the adjacent roots, and I can see where the concern is. And looking at this, certainly from the buccal lingual view right here, it does look like the implant is quite deep. So again, my question is going to be is, do you truly intend for the gingival margin to be where it was drawn? So if you don't intend for your gingival margin to be right there, if you intend for your gingival margin to be more up in here, then apically you wouldn't place this implant as deep. So that's based on where you've drawn your gingival margins. So again, thank you for submitting this, and I look forward to other submissions in the future from many of you listening to this video. Just for people to know, I am slowing down how many videos I am doing these days, so thank you very much.